The rules of engagement have changed. If you can't identify the target, you are the target.
The year is 2019. CIA operative Alex is running a covert operation in Verdansk, Russia, to investigate a shipment of dangerous chemicals that are headed for Uzbekistan. Alex and his team are soon ambushed by an unidentified group of terrorists, killing several of the Marines and escaping with the chemical agent. Alex's CIA handler, Kate Laswell, requests the assistance of SAS Captain John Price in recovering the chemicals and de-escalating the situation with Russia. 24 hours later, in London, SAS Sergeant Kyle Garrick and his team are following a group of suspected terrorists. While attempting to stop the van, it suddenly takes off, eventually exploding in the Piccadilly Circus. It was at that moment that a number of armed men appeared, opening fire on civilians. Garrick, his team, and the London police try to stop them, but dozens of civilians are killed. With the last-minute arrival of Price, the terrorists are killed and the situation is contained. Garrick tells Price that they had intel on the attack earlier, but were prevented from acting. Price recruits Garrick for his team. Meanwhile, in Uzbekistan, a terrorist group, Al-Qatala, claims responsibility for the attack. Alex is sent to Uzbekistan to meet up with Price's contact, rebel leader Farah Karim. She agrees to help in tracking down the chemicals in exchange for his aid in overthrowing the Russian forces. When Farah was 7 years old, Russian forces led by Barkov were invading Uzbekistan. Farah and her mother were buried by the rubble from a Russian artillery strike. Although her mother was killed, Farah managed to survive. The Russian soldiers began advancing on her position. She was grabbed by her father, who rushed her to their home to find her brother, Hadir. Suddenly a soldier burst into the house. He fires his weapon at their father. Farah sneaks through the house and finds something to defend herself. She then attacks the Russian soldier, and as he begins to fight back, Hadir too starts attacking him with another makeshift weapon. They manage to bring him down. After saying goodbye to their dying father, the two of them sneak out of their home in search of a vehicle they can escape in. Unfortunately, upon entering a truck, they are then immediately captured by Roman Barkov, the Russian general responsible for invading their homeland. They would be held captive for the next 10 years. As prisoners of war, Farah and Hadir were barely fed or given water, and were consistently tortured for information on the identity of someone called Commander Karim. While imprisoned, she was given a key by Hadir, and at that same moment, Barkov arrived. He ordered his men to take Hadir to a warehouse, while he dealt with Farah. While interrogating her some more, he is interrupted by an explosion from outside the compound. Before he leaves to investigate, Barkov orders his men to take all the prisoners to the warehouse and kill them. Farah then escapes her cell. After killing a few guards, she makes it to the main cell block and is greeted by her sisters, who show her what the key is for, a weapon cabinet. They grab some weapons and proceed to fight their way out of the prison complex towards the warehouse where Hadir was taken. But it was there that they were ambushed by the Russian forces. However, it was at that very moment when an SAS squad arrived, led by a young John Price. Before the siblings were evacuated from the prison, Farah introduces herself to Price as Commander Karim, the leader of the Uzbekistan Liberation Front. Alex tells Farah and her brother Hadir about the stolen gas. They agree to help as long as he will assist them in the ULF's fight against the Russian forces led by General Roman Barkov. Alex and Farah go into a nearby city under disguise. They eventually come across a couple of helicopters, and Alex detonates them with explosives. He brings the Russian forces down upon their position, while Farah keeps them busy, Hadir and Alex use explosive remote-controlled planes armed with C4 to take out several Russian vehicles. The ULF forces launch their attack and are able to capture the armories in the compound. The Russians launch a counterattack with heavily armed vehicles, but after a quick call from Alex to his CIA contact, these were quickly dealt to by US Apache attack helicopters. Back in England, Price and Garrick lead an attack on an Al-Qatala safehouse. After eliminating the terrorists inside, they find a laptop that provides intel on the whereabouts of the Al-Qatala leader, known as the Wolf. He is hiding out in a hospital in Uzbekistan. Next, Alex, together with a large Marine squad, launches an attack on the Al-Qatala-occupied hospital, where they would eventually capture the Wolf. They take him to the American embassy, where he would be handed over to Price, but the Al-Qatala, led by a man called the Butcher, arrive, demanding the Wolf's release. While all of this is happening, the Wolf says that it wasn't them that took the Russian gas, though he wishes it was. The Butcher attacked the embassy, killing several civilians, but Price and Garrick have now arrived and managed to help Alex and the Wolf escape. Their team make their way to a nearby facility where they take up defensive positions. They fight their way through to the ambassador's residence, but while they're fending off the attacks, Al-Qatala forces manage to breach a wall, getting away with their leader. Alex, Farah, and Hadir leave the city and set up a position outside the only highway out of the city in an attempt to ambush them. They are able to defeat the enemy, but the Wolf hasn't arrived yet. However, while waiting, they are met by Barkov's forces. Heavily outnumbered, Hadir grabs Alex and tells him of the explosives in his truck that they can use. It is here that Alex notices the stolen Russian gas in the back of Hadir's truck. Hadir puts on the gas mask and carries both Alex and Farah to safety. Angry, Farah passes out before she can do anything. Hadir then tells Alex that it's true. He did steal the gas, but he had to, in order to keep Farah, himself, and the ULF in the fight. Hadir leaves on foot, while Alex too passes out. Price and Garrick find Alex and Farah. Once they wake up, they meet with Laswell. Hadir and the Russian gas has been tracked to an Al-Qatala stronghold in the mountains. He has made contact with the Wolf and the Butcher to provide them with the gas to use on Barkov's men. Garrick and Price attack the main building, while Farah and Alex move underground into the tunnels where the Wolf is hiding. After fighting through Al-Qatala forces, they eventually find him, strapped with explosives. Alex shoots and kills the Wolf, and together they disarm the vest. Back at HQ, the team learns that the US has labelled Farah's organisation, the ULF, as enemy combatants due to the theft of Russian chemical weapons. Alex immediately protests, as it has been Farah's forces that have been helping. He then goes on to defy the chain of command, leaving with Farah to join her forces. Discussing with Laswell, Price talks of meeting with a contact called Nikolai in St. Petersburg, Russia. They track down the Butcher and manage to take him captive. Although he refuses to give any information, he eventually complies after Nikolai appears with the Butcher's family. He tells them of the location of the gas, as well as Hadir's plan of going directly after Barkov himself. The Butcher is left along with the gas to be collected by the Russian army. Price and Garrick go to Barkov's estate, where they find Hadir in the office, looking for information around Barkov's chemical factory. After escaping the compound and returning to Laswell, she explains that they're turning Hadir over to the Russians. Price agrees, but states that he's keeping the intel on the factory. When Price meets up with Farah, she isn't happy about her brother being handed over, but Price offers to destroy the facility that Hadir had provided information on. Assisted by Predator drone strikes, Price, Alex, Garrick and Farah launch an attack on Barkov's factory. Price and Garrick split off to plant explosive charges, while Alex and Farah fight through to the main building with the detonator. With the charges ready, Alex quickly finds that the detonator has been damaged during the fighting. It would have to be done manually, a suicide mission. Farah argues that it should be her doing it, but Alex convinces her to stay behind and take care of Barkov. After planting the explosives, Price and Garrick notice Barkov's helicopter flying overhead, leaving the compound. Fortunately, Barkov is completely unaware that Farah has made it on board. Finally, after 20 years, the death of her parents, the prolonged torture of her and Hadir, and the invasion of Uzbekistan, she is able to take her revenge. After killing Barkov, she watches out from the helicopter as the explosions begin to engulf the facility, along with Alex inside. With Barkov dead and disowned by Russia, Price meets with Laswell to discuss the creation of a new task force. Although she is initially apprehensive, she ends up accepting and informing Price of a man named Zakhaev who is looking to pick up where Barkov left off. Price reveals the names of the people he wants to recruit: Garrick, John McTavish, Simon Riley, and a number of others he chooses to keep to himself. Laswell then asks what he'll be calling this new task force. He responds, 141. Following the death of the Wolf, Al-Qatala was left without a leader, and naturally there was a power vacuum where a new leader would eventually emerge, posing a dangerous threat to all Russian forces in Verdansk. Sergeant Kamarov of the Federal Security Service, as well as Laswell, authorized a joint operation between the Allegiance and Coalition. This new joint faction, named Armistice, takes on various operations in Verdansk, including the elimination of several key figures within the Al-Qatala terrorist group. Eventually, the Armistice leadership would find out that the Al-Qatala has been dealing in arms trade with Zakhaev, and that the name of their new leader is Khalid al-Assad. Armistice would continue to send agents out into the field on missions against Al-Qatala forces, but over time there seem to be growing levels of hostility between the two groups that make up the joint operation, particularly after intercepting an Al-Qatala chemical shipment in Uzbekistan. Not long after this, Al-Qatala unleashes chemical weapon attacks across Verdansk, causing the two factions to fight each other as well as among themselves for survival, as toxic gas surrounds the city. With all of this happening around him, Task Force 141 member Ghost requests reliable reinforcements over the comms with Price. Eventually he would be greeted by someone who had been presumed dead not so long ago. Alex is back, having survived the factory explosion, and he's been sent in to assist Ghost. Armistice leaders intercept a phone call between Al-Assad and Zakhaev. They learn that Al-Qatala has been shipping armaments to various bunkers located throughout Verdansk, from experimental weapon prototypes to nuclear warheads. It has been discovered that Zakhaev was the one responsible for Armistice being torn apart. From the very beginning, he's been paying off Armistice soldiers to turn a blind eye and even attack other Armistice soldiers. Price and Garrick were then deployed into Verdansk to assist, and with the help of the private military company called Shadow Company, they hunt down Zakhaev's location. They discover that he's been using the Verdansk subway tunnels to move around undetected. Price sends Farah and Nikolai to infiltrate and reclaim the tunnels, restoring power to the metro system. Eventually, Task Force 141 hacks into Zakhaev's comms, locating him at a nuclear silo in Bunker 10. In the bunker, Zakhaev has armed the nuke and is preparing to launch, but suddenly Price appears, shooting him and then throwing him over the ledge down the silo. Then, with very little time to spare, Price manages to terminate the missile launch with Nikolai's help. Leaving the facility, Task Force 141 look out across the region as the battle continues to play out, when suddenly Price is contacted by Soap requesting backup half a kilometer off the coast. Now, you might be wondering why I'm suddenly covering the lore of a game that is 2-3 years old. One, I wanted to cover this at the time of release, but was busy with other content. And two, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is coming out in the near future. And from what we can tell so far, it will be a continuation of the 2019 Call of Duty Modern Warfare story, where Captain Price's Task Force 141 will be continuing the fight. I'm not going to cover the potential story direction this next installment will take in this video, but perhaps this is something I can look into later. For now, just look at this as a recap of the Modern Warfare story before the sequel releases. I hope this summary video has helped bring you up to speed. I'll likely be covering a few other aspects of the Modern Warfare story in coming videos, So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!